You're watching Pulse for the 3rd of November, and it's time for some World of Warcraft news. In this week's episode, we take a look at the usual patch 4.3 news and updates, some slightly new and pretty interesting Mists of Pandaria talk, the final Tier 13 preview, this one for the Death Knight class, and more. Let's get started. We're going to start the World of Warcraft news off this week with the latest patch 4.3 PTR notes. They were in fact last updated on the 28th of October. Now there isn't really very much going on. The biggest, I suppose, is that the Well of Eternity is in fact now officially available for testing. And Blizzard do say that, as always, our participation and feedback is much appreciated. So if you do in fact have access to the PTR, you can jump on there right now to test all those new 5-man dungeons. Apparently the raid finder is also now up and running for the Dragon Soul raid, so all those guys on the PTR without guilds, you can test this pug machine out right now if you like. There were a couple of class balance changes to have a look at, and the most notable of those are that Death Knight and Druid tanks have been buffed slightly. You can, as usual, see those official patch notes below, but now let's have a look at the more interesting part of the recent updates, the patch 4.3 extras. You can have a look at a new, pretty mysterious chromatic dragon model, and this one has a mount counterpart too. We're not quite sure where this is going to be from yet, but I will let you know the second that I know. There's a new hurricane animation, a new divine Aegis animation. You can have a look at how the priest's glyph of shadow will look. That is in fact the glyph that was mentioned or hinted at BlizzCon that will allow you to see your armor while you're in shadow mode. I think a lot of shadow priests are going to be pretty happy about that. There are 2 Dragon Soul raid mounts to have a look at. You can have a look at some world map and mini-map improvements. And lastly, you can have a look at Tyrael's Charger. That is in fact the mount that you get when you commit to 1 full year's worth of World of Warcraft. That's pretty much all that we've got for patch 4.3 this week. Let's move along to the Mists of Pandaria live Q&A. This Q&A was, if you weren't aware, held on October the 28th, and it was hosted by the community manager Zarheem. The 2 panelists with him were lead content designer Corey Stockton and lead systems designer Greg Street. There were a couple of interesting questions asked and answers given, so I'll give you guys the highlights. It seems like there will be separate player hubs for both Horde and Alliance on Pandaria, and this is to encourage world PvP. The new level cap for professions is 600, and there's no plans to add any new professions. It looks like pet battles are set to be a fun alternative to power leveling those professions. Pet battles are apparently set to grant experience in the same way that gathering professions do. Cooking will be remaining a secondary skill, but there will be specializations for it come Mists of Pandaria. There will be new guild levels and perks in the expansion. There will be more quest hubs added that change control or faction, like Barad does right now in Cataclysm. Players can only queue for scenarios while in specific areas. I assume that would be the area of the scenario that they're trying to queue for. This is very much like Warhammer Online does it right now. Blizzard wants players to mess around a lot more with the new talents, and they want to see a lot more diversity. They don't want everyone using the exact same talent spec at the max level. Mists of Pandaria zones will feel pretty huge, especially while leveling, seeing that you can't actually fly. If you didn't know, flying is disabled till you reach max level, which is 90. We've been told that you cannot friend other Pandaren until they've chosen a faction. Rogue poisons have once again been reworked. They now have less ramp up time, so there's no deadly poison stacking anymore, and there won't be that penalty for using utility poison above damage dealing poison anymore. All 9 new dungeons coming in Mists of Pandaria will have challenge mode enabled on them, and apparently this feature could be extended to classic dungeons as well. So all of that and more was discussed during this open Q&A, and you can see a full transcript below. If you are at all interested in Mists of Pandaria, then I suppose this is definitely one for you to check out. Now next up, the long-awaited Death Knight Tier 13 preview. This is the necrotic bone plate. Honestly, it doesn't look that crazy to me, and I'm not really sure why they delayed it as much as they did. If you are interested in reading more about this, you can check the official post below, because they did in fact include a few notes about it. There's also the visual retrospective of the previous Death Knight gears, so if you missed out on those, have a look below. Lastly, a quick mention before heading into the smalls. The Guardian Cub Tradable Pet is now available. If you are interested in adding this pet to your collection, you can head on over to Blizzard's pet store right now to buy it. A quick warning though, it seems like this pet is soulbound for 24 hours after you've purchased it, so that means you'll probably only now see them popping up on the auction house at ridiculously high prices. Another difference worth noting is that this is not an account bound pet. You have to keep that in mind. This binds to a single character, so you have to choose its master wisely. You can find a link to the pet store, some screenshots and a mini Q&A in the official post. Check that out below. Now let's head on over to the World of Warcraft Smalls. First up in the Smalls, over at the official site, you can read about the post-BlizzCon sale that will begin on November the 11th. Guild services are apparently coming soon to Europe. You can see Blizzard Insider number 42, meet the Pandaren Monk. You can check out a couple of art gallery updates, as they always are. You can have a look at a couple of new features for the World of Warcraft mobile armory on Androids. Blizzard have apologized for anti-gay slurs at BlizzCon. That was, if you were wondering, during the closing ceremony. The World of Warcraft murder was more horrific than you could imagine. Read this post over at Kotaku, it's pretty grisly. Have a look at a couple of screenshots of Warcraft reimagined in retro-colored graphics. Then you can see Curse's visit to BlizzCon 2011, and lastly, yes, I did save the best for last, have a look at an unreleased World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria trailer by WoW Krendor. Pretty funny stuff. Now before ending this off, there were a couple of blue posts to have a look at as well. The Blues had a bit to say this week on player housing. Yes, that's a topic that players just won't drop. On the reasons for adding pet battles and pandas to Mists of Pandaria. Yes, I don't even know why people are asking about that, but hey, Blizzard did in fact respond. And lastly, on faction balance in the WoW storyline. Sadly, that's all I have for you this week. That's all there was in the World of Warcraft news. Remember to like the video, favorite it, share it with your friends, and subscribe. You can, as always, find links to all the news I spoke about this week below this video. Most importantly though, happy Guardian Cub Tradable Pet. That's no doubt all over the auction house by now.